So absolute shenanigans. Real cool that I made it through in my PR time of 19 minutes through the airport because I arrived at my gate at 12:42, I think was my time. Yeah, they reversed 24 and 42. That'd be 18 minutes, so 43 when I think I took the picture. Whatever. Because it is now 10:59 and I'm at a hotel in Denver. I never left. I spent my entire day at the airport as they shuffle around flights. My original flight just kept getting pushed back, and like everyone's in line because they're missing connecting flights, and I like get 2 emails and they've rebooked me. I was like, great, I didn't even have to stand in line. Absolutely amazing. And the woman's like, people shuffle around. The woman asked to sit down next to me and started talking to me. She's a travel agent, so she's sitting there looking at other flights and just like helping me out and hanging out, and it was absolutely fantastic. And then I get this other flight. I'm like, oh, I guess I'm not even doing another, not domestic. I'm just getting like, they rebooked me straight to London. Like, this is amazing. Let me go get on that flight. And I go to look it up on the boards to figure out what my gate is because it's not coming through on the app and it won't let me log in or whatever. It's delayed 4 hours. So I'm like, and it's through another airline now. So I'm like, what's my plan of action? So I sit down, I realize I'm like, with a 4-hour delay, I'm missing my connecting flight that would only be an hour and a half. So they'll rebook me, and I'm just like sitting there waiting for them to rebook. And at this point, it's like another like 4 to 6 hours till any of these flights take off. So it's totally fine, relatively speaking. So, oh my gosh, I don't even remember what point. The original flight was supposed to leave at 1:45. It's probably getting close to like 5 or 6. And I had to get back on the train in Denver and go to like a different terminal because that's where the flight's taking off out of. And start to like try and figure out, because like there's no one at the gate because it's delayed by 4 hours. And before I'd left, I'd walked up to my ticketing gate where I was supposed to get on a plane, and the woman looks at me dead in the eye and goes, "You're not on the," like, she's like, "Are you on the Chicago flight?" I'm like, "No, you guys have rebooked me." She's like, "I can only help people that are on the Chicago flight," and hands me this piece of paper with a phone number. So I'm like, I have to call a 1-800 number to talk to American Airlines to get this rebooked now. So I get over to the gate and it's 4 hours late. Now it's leaving at 10 p.m. I end up being on the phone for like several hours. I talked to 3 different people at American Airlines, and they couldn't help me. I needed to go talk to, the first person told me she couldn't rebook me because it was a British Airways flight. I needed to talk to British Airways. And how'd that work out? No, she reassured me that everything was fine, and the flight was actually showing at 8:20 instead of 10 p.m. in her system. Not true, still late. I call back, it's the second person. He goes, "I can't rebook you, you need to go talk to British Airways. Let me transfer you to them." In the meantime, I wind up talking to a couple guys from United who were just like hanging out at this gate next to me, and I think it was in between phone calls. I was like, "Can I ask you some quick questions? What are my next steps? Here's my scenario." And the guy's like, "I'm the ticketing agent for this 8:20 flight to London. Like, just get on our flight." He's like, "It's half full." Like, amazing. Thank you. Glad I ran into you. British Airways, once I got transferred, is like, we can't do this, but let me see if we can. I guess she gets me on it because she like hung up or got disconnected. So I call back a third time to American. I'm talking to them. They're like, "Well, how did you get on this United flight?" And I was like, "Oh, you're seeing it. They got me on there. Fantastic. I want to be on that flight." I end up talking to the ticketing agent, the guy I talked to hours earlier, like 2 or 3 hours earlier at this point. United can see my flight information, but the ticket's not there. American can't get me an e-ticket because it's too close to boarding, and they can't like do a push through to get anything there. United's like 15 minutes away from closing their gate to like get on this flight, and just none of this works out. So the woman on American on the phone with me, it was just like, "You need to find someone who works for American and get them to like rebook your flights there." She's like, I just can't do anything else in the system because the original, I'm not seeing that British Airways flight as delayed, so I can't put you back on that, and I can't rebook anything else because I'm not showing that you're like not able to get on the flights that you're supposed to be on." So you need to find someone at the airport. I'm like, where do I go? She's like looking at maps. She's like, there's nothing. She's like, I can't find the information of where the help desk would be for American. I go over to the London flight that I'm trying to get back on with British Airways, get up to the front, talk to someone. They're trying to book me. They call, make a few calls for me. They can't do anything either and send me back to my original terminal to try and find someone. And they were just like, go look for any gate that's boarding for American and go talk to someone there. We don't have, there won't be a help desk. So I'm so happy about this. Get out, like look over, and there's this woman just like at a gate and no one's there. I was like, oh my God, she's an American. I was like, walk up and I was like, please help me. Stand there. She was awesome. Got me rebooked. We're like, that's figuring out all this shit and just like laughing about how ridiculous this day is. This woman walks up. She goes, you were from the Chicago flight earlier. I'm like, hey, I recognize you too. You've also had a long day. So, oh my gosh. We're trying to like figure out these flights. She's doing everything she can to rebook me. And then it was like, at first she's like, oh my God, I can get you to Barcelona at 9. And I was like, I won't even miss my original flight to Morocco. And then she's like, I was like, are you sure it's that early? I was like, that's gonna beat all these other flights that I've been like messing around with today. It was on the 14th, not the 13th. So we're poking around, like, at all this other stuff, like, trying to figure out the best option of, like, to get me where I need to go. And eventually it was just, like, we're looking at the same basic arrival time, no matter which way we route it. So it was, like, my options were take a midnight flight to Newark and then hang out for 10 or 12 hours and then take another evening flight to Barcelona, or get a hotel and stay in Denver and then take like a noon flight out of here with a connection to get to Barcelona. I'm like, this is the silliest. So take 2 tomorrow. I haven't left yet, but I Tetris the shit out of my packing, and I got a really good lesson in patience and finding my own inner peace. And I met some cool people today. But I didn't go anywhere. It's so ridiculous. It is absolutely so ridiculous, but it's funny. There was like other synchronicities and fun things throughout the day too, and time did weird things where like, I can't believe I was at the airport for 9 hours. Like it didn't feel that long, but also a lot happened. Like I didn't read a book. I didn't bring a book on this trip. This is literally the first trip I've ever taken where I didn't bring a book because there wasn't room for it. And I wasn't sure like where electronics and stuff would be at, and I felt like I was kind of in the middle of doing things, so I like didn't listen to podcasts or music. I was just like with my thoughts all day or talking to people. And like not a lot of people, let's get that straight. I talked to this woman who's a travel agent who sat next to me, and I talked to people on the phone at American Airlines. And then I talked to people who worked in the airline. I talked to one stranger today who was flying, like in a meaningful conversation. I had passing comments with a handful of people, but otherwise it was like me and my thoughts. It's my story. I'm gonna go to bed now. I'm gonna go do my Duolingo and then go to bed.